Hello, and welcome to the first webinar organised by 3 new projects, which have been funded by the European Union, which looks at e-democracy. My name is Nicholas Ferguson, and I'm a Senior Manager at Trust IT Services, which is an SME based in Pisa in Italy. And we're one of the consortium members, one of the beneficiaries of the Innovate project. And this webinar is a collaboration between 3 newly funded projects, which focus on e-democracy, the challenges around this, and the solutions as well to meet these challenges head on. So we have 3 projects: Innovate, AI for Deliberation, and Pericles. So there's no doubt that I'll just change my slide, apologies for that. So there's no doubt that technology has transformed virtually all parts of our everyday lives. But how much is it impacting on our values in Europe and the democracy which brings so many countries together to form the European Union? The emergence of the concept of digital economy or e-democracy can be both positive and negative. We see much more access to information related to democracy at our fingertips, and many more possibilities for normal people, European citizens, to make informed decisions based on this information. And also many different possibilities and channels for them to engage in democracy today. They can take part in public dialogue or interact with others, not only face-to-face, but also online. And this is a great motivator for people and facilitator as well. It means that through technology, citizens are now able to make a much more active and often informed role in creating social change. However, there's so much in life, there are positives, but there are also negatives. And technologies or digital solutions are also vulnerable to disruption. They can be used to drive disinformation, undermine the very public discourse that technology has been able to facilitate or create, and it can exacerbate existing inequalities and exacerbate the digital divide, preventing meaningful engagement and disruption to our democracies. It can lead to ethical challenges and ethical differences, and can influence even electoral outcomes, as we've seen in many high-profile cases in Europe, not just in Europe, but also globally. So in today's webinar, we'll be focusing on some of these challenges and hearing from different perspectives. So we're very pleased, the first speaker to welcome from a policy perspective, Pier Di Giacomo, and he'll be giving an overview of a very important piece of policy from the European Union, the Democracy Shield, which sets out 7 different priorities to address various challenges faced by our democracy. We'll then hear from a governance perspective with Bert Kempen, who'll tell us about citizen engagement in the Belgian city of Giel. And then we'll hear from Andreas Nitsch, who will give us a societal perspective, looking at how e-democracy and the challenges around that is affecting society. And then we'll hear from the 3 projects which have co-organized this webinar. The first is Innovate. Okay, so each of these projects have been funded under the same call, looking at specifically digital democracy, and each take a different slant, a different perspective. The Innovate project, which started in January this year, empowers transparent and inclusive e-participation through advanced tools and frameworks. The AI for Deliberation project, which started a little earlier in November 2024, looks at developing or harnessing the potential of artificial intelligence, which is very much in the news and in the spotlight often, but an important emerging technology which can facilitate so much and enhance democratic processes. So developing AI tools to support this. And then finally, Pericles, which looks at developing evidence-based methods for digital democracy technology. So this point of evidence-based is very important in a time where misinformation can also be so prevalent. So I'd like to highlight that the 3 projects are collaborating together. They've obviously been funded under the same call, but collaboration through workshops as this can form alignment between the projects, which is important in terms of forming recommendations and outputs for the European Commission and the various communities that the projects support. So before we get started and we move to our first presentation, I'd just like to say a couple of things regarding housekeeping. So as I'm sure you know, we are recording the webinar so we can publish it online afterwards, so people who haven't been able to attend can see it again. So we'll be turning off the microphones for the audience, of course, but we really would like to hear your questions, okay? As you saw in the agenda, there will be time for questions. There's a Q&A time at the end of the event, okay? So you can put your questions to the speakers then, but if you could put them in the Q&A box, then we can collect them and we can go to them during that part of the webinar. However, we've asked the speakers and we've told them that they can also answer the questions during the webinar, so you might see your questions answered as we go on as well. And you can also follow the chat as well, so please introduce yourselves, say hello, say where you're from and what you're interested in working on, and maybe you can meet other people who are attending the webinar, because there's certainly plenty of you. We've had over 200 registrants today from over 46 countries, I think, because we had another few more registrants since we created this slide, but 207 registrants from across Europe in particular, and mainly from the scientific community, with a number of EC-funded projects represented as well. And I'm very pleased to say that we almost have equality when it comes to gender in the participants, okay? So almost 40% of participants are female, which is really encouraging, to say the least. So here are our speakers, and we'll be moving to Pier Di Giacomo in just a moment. He's from the Directorate General of Democracy, Anti-Corruption, Union Citizenship and Free Movement, and he's a policy officer there. So Pierre, over to you. If you'd like to share your slides or open your camera, then you can be the first up. So over to you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Nicholas. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, we can hear you fine. Yeah.
Perfect. Excellent. I won't use any slides for this initial presentation, but I'm very happy to take part in this webinar on 3 EU-funded projects. And as I said, I will try to briefly outline the key policy challenges that digital transformation of democracy encompasses nowadays. So as you know, our European Union is funded upon fundamental values of democracy, rule of law, and respect for fundamental rights. And so far, democracy has proven itself to be the most powerful way to deliver for the benefits of citizens. As Nicholas said, new technologies, notably digital tools, provide huge opportunities in terms of economic developments and competitiveness, but also, and this is the most important here today, for democratic participation. They allow citizens from all groups, including the youth, to express themselves, to promote their ideas, and to join forces to defend what they stand for. As it was said already, those technological developments also pose a number of challenges to the protection of democracy and fundamental rights, and as well to the integrity of the information space and the integrity of election and democratic processes. Another element to highlight is that new information ecosystems also increasingly relies on artificial intelligence, which does provide through important opportunities, but also pose several challenges, including when it comes to democracy and fundamental rights. Before touching upon the upcoming Democracy Shield, I would like to recall briefly that over the last years, the European Union adopted important pieces of legislation that are really relevant to ensure the respect of fundamental rights and democratic values online, such as the GDPR, the Digital Services Act, the AI Act, or the regulation on transparency and targeting of political advertisings. Some of those legislations already apply, other will soon fully apply. And I would like to stress that their proper and effective oversight and enforcement will be our absolute priority in the coming months and years. Nevertheless, in order to address the new and evolving challenges posed by digitalization of democracy, and also in light of the complex changes of the broader geopolitical context, we consider that further actions are required. And this is why the Commission is stepping up with the preparation of the European Democracy Shield, one of the key initiatives that was announced by our President, Ursula von der Leyen, in her political guidelines for this new mandate. The Shield will constitute an horizontal strategic framework to better protect and promote democracy in the EU, with the aim to reinforce public trust in democracy and democratic institutions and to react to evolving challenges. The Shield will cover action across several key areas. The first one will be foreign interference, disinformation, and information manipulation, both from outside and from within the EU. The second one will be fairness and integrity of election and the strengthening of democratic frameworks. The third one will be societal resilience and preparedness, including digital and media literacy, critical thinking, support to civil society organizations, and free, plural, and independent media. And finally, the fourth pillar will be citizens' participation and engagement in the democratic life. On this, let me underline that the trust that citizens place in national and European democratic institutions is often correlated and so contributes to the overall trust in democracy itself. This is why the Commission, with this positive agenda, is truly committed to reinforce public trust. In the preparation of the Shield, we will follow a whole of society approach and intend to consult widely. I don't know if I have the time to jump into more details on the different initiatives we foresee under the different pillars of the Shield, or if you want me to stop there. I don't know.
No, please go ahead.
Okay.
You have time.
So, under the Shield, the first pillar, what we call information integrity and fight against FIMI, our objective here is to reinforce EU's capacity to detect, analyze, and respond to those hostile acts. To do so, we will need to increase our operational capacity, both in terms of situational awareness and coordinated response. We will need to strengthen pre-banking and debunking, develop digital and media literacy, and foster critical thinking across the Union. And we will also need to strengthen a dedicated EU network of fact-checkers. It is to be said that we have already instruments and framework in place, but in that context, we're reflecting on possible ways to reinforce those tools and to streamline them. Threats evolve, and we will need also to constantly adapt and innovate in our response. It is important for citizens to be in position to know what they are being confronted with, and that most of the time, or at least sometimes, it can be interferences, information manipulation, and disinformation. This is the reason why we will seek to strengthen awareness raising and social resilience in full respect for fundamental rights, rule of law, and democratic values. And I really insist on that because among those values, we have freedom of expressions, freedom of associations, and right to participate in public life. And it is important to underline that the EU law and instruments do not aim to regulate the content of messages. On the contrary, they aim to promote access to an open democratic space. As long as legal boundaries are respected, such as prohibition on hate speech and illegal content, individual citizens and political actors should be able to express themselves freely, online and offline. That being said, freedom of expression does not apply to bots, trolls, or fake accounts, which are still too often present on online platforms. This is why we are trying to focus on combating organized campaign that aims to manipulate the EU democratic sphere. In order to do so, information transparency is of the utmost importance. Users of online platforms should be able to know if specific content, including political messages, is being promoted via algorithm, which might in turn rely on the use of their personal data. They should also be able to know whether people who publish or promote political content are being paid to do so. To that extent, it will be key to enforce the Digital Service Act, but also the regulation on political advertising, which will become fully applicable in October this year. Beyond transparency and integrity of the information space, we will also, under SHIELD, continue the work to ensure fairness and integrity of elections in the EU. Then, under Pillar 3 and Pillar 4, societal resilience and preparedness and citizens' engagement, we will work on strengthening democratic frameworks and increase societal resilience, and we will remain committed to support civil society organizations, as well as free, plural, and independent media in their roles as democratic check and balances. Those stakeholders are key watchdogs needed for democratic resilience. They are vectors of access to reliable information, which is crucial for citizens, and they are also vital to keep into account those in power. Under the SHIELD, we will look also at better ways to empower citizens with the right skills to navigate this new information environment and to encourage their active participation in elections, democratic debates, and public policy making. Citizens should feel represented by the institution built to protect our open societies, and they should feel empowered to take part in the processes that shape them. Citizens should feel that their aspirations are taken into account when public policies are formulated, and they should be free to take informed decisions according to their own preferences based on trustworthy sources. In this context, it will be important to set up, as I already said, actions on digital and media literacy, critical thinking, and support to civil society. I earlier mentioned that the SHIELD will take a whole of society approach, and I would like to underline in this context that your work and the discussion that we're having today will be at the utmost important and could significantly contribute to the development and later to the functioning of the SHIELD. And to that end, I really much look forward to any insight you may already be able to share today, and would like to also point out that we will soon launch, very likely next week, a public consultation on the Democracy Shield, where we hope that a wide range of stakeholders and citizens, including this community, will be able to contribute with their practical and concrete ideas and views. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward for the exchanges.
Thank you very much, Pierre. That was really interesting and very important, the public consultation as well that you're launching next week. I'm sure each of the projects will promote this to the communities, and perhaps, with the post webinar information, we can distribute the link to that as well. That would be very important. So
hopefully on Monday, I will have the link.
Okay, wonderful. That's great. So just to say, all of the presentations are being put up online as we speak. So you should be able to have them all available to you straight after the webinar, and then we can promote on Monday, hopefully, the public consultation, which Pierre has mentioned. So with that, from a policy perspective, thank you, Pierre. I hope you can stay on. If there's any questions, oh, thank you, that's great. If there's any questions, then pop them into the Q&A box, please. And we can keep an eye on them and see if we can answer them as we go along. Can see a few people are writing in the chat as well, so please do. That's excellent. So next speaker comes from a governance perspective, okay? And we're very pleased to welcome Berton Kempen from Stad Giel and the Innovate project. So Berton, over to you, please. And you've got a lovely backdrop there.
Yeah, it's my turn. I'm gonna share the presentation. Hopefully it works.
And we've got your, here we go. Yes, that's it.
Yeah,
that's fine. Perfect.
So yeah, I'm Berton Kempen from the city of Geel. I will talk mainly about my experience. So I'm a civil servant and I mainly work around participation. Yeah, the city of Geel, it's a small city between Antwerp, Eindhoven, Brussels, and Liège. It's quite densely populated, the region, and in Geel we have 42,000 inhabitants. We have a very dense city center with several smaller boroughs surrounding it. Yeah, that's it lays between crossroad of motor and waterways, and we have quite a big industry, also some big players, but also more than 2,000 small and medium enterprises. What I'm gonna tell you about, yeah, I'm working on participation in Geel, and yeah, participation is yeah, a collective noun. So there are many definitions about it, but what we as the city of Geel we define it as involving people in our policies and making policies together with citizens and politicians. Yeah, it's very broad. So there could be information, consultation, advisory role, but we mainly focus on co-creation together with our citizens. It's very because participation is quite there's a very broad definition. It's very it's important to avoid disappointments and angry citizens, and that's why we define at the beginning of the project, at the beginning of the process, we define what we are going to do with our citizens. So what's the meaning of participation? How do we see participation in this project? And then, yeah, how do we participate with our people? There are many methods about it. So we can do questionnaires, we do polls, we also do budget games where people can vote or really stick their money to certain projects. So they prioritize the policies they want. There's also a citizen budget where people get budgets of the municipality to create the things they like themselves. There are also some advisory councils that are yeah, in the advisory councils there are yeah, stakeholder groups like for example the Union of Cyclists, but there are also just normal citizens. And then we also have deliberative mini publics where we send letters to our citizens to pick them out, and they can make policies together. we try to mix online and offline. So we have our own participation platform. It's just a website for the moment, but together with Innovate, we hope to make it maybe like an app, something very accessible. Um, so that's how we do participation, and on what, yeah, it's quite broad. So there are many topics we participate together with our citizens, like climate, mobility, also safety, playgrounds, skate parks, and there's one thing I want to highlight. It's um, it's called the label Child and Youth Friendly City we have in Geel. So we try to involve young people in our policies. So participation is for young and old, and this is mainly focused on young people. Um, yeah, children, although they can't vote, they are a full part of our city. So it's important to listen to them. And yeah, we make working methods tailored to young people. Like, for example, we have a children's council, the youth advisory board, um, and it's on many subjects that children can play a role. It's like playgrounds, skate parks, but also on topics such as mobility or to well-being, safety. Um, why do why is participation so important for us? It's required by law, by Belgium Flemish law. Um, but yeah, that's not really a motivation for us to really do it. Um, it's more to also to strengthen democracy. In Belgium, we can vote for a new local government every 6 years. Um, but in 2024, so 1 year ago, for the first time in history, we had the right to vote. So we weren't obliged to go voting. Um, but we saw only 62% of the citizens of Geel went voting. So if you wait 6 years and you say, as a politician, I represent 50% of the 62% that voted, you only represent less than half of Geel. And only in the 6 years to come, it's just not done. Um, Also, we want to make better policy decisions. As a government, we have, you never have a complete view of specific problems in a neighborhood or a street. The residents do. They live in the streets, they live in their own neighborhood. Um, and that's how you make qualitatively stronger solutions. Um, and also citizens can offer a different and even perhaps more fresher perspective on many issues. Um, Also, we want to build a stronger community. Participation means talking to each other, means listening, consulting, discussing, not only with politics, but even among our citizens themselves. Um, so by doing this, you understand why something's happening. Um, um, you learn from each other. You hear insights and experience of other people, and yeah, for me, a participation project is considered to be successful when the discussion isn't just between policy and between the policymakers and or the administration and the citizens, but is really among citizens themselves. And then, as a last, um, we want to reduce the gap between citizens and politics. Um, especially in co-creative processes. Um, people, citizens, get to know how decision making works, and there's that makes the gap between public administration and politics, and on the other hand, our citizens smaller. And what we also see is that by listening to people and giving them the power to do it themselves, you simplify administrative procedures, because as an administration, you listen to people, and you take that into account into your daily working. But we face also some challenges. It's hard to reach a broad and representative part of our citizens. Um, we strive to be as accessible and inclusive as possible. But even then, it's very hard to reach everyone you want to reach. Also, the subject and methods used determined the attendance and the involvement of citizens. And especially since COVID, it even got harder to reach citizens. And one of the crucial things is we also always ask is what's in it for the participants. So also trusting the process. We have to communicate very clearly and transparently on what's the goal, who should be involved, when should he be involved, what's the result of the participations, because citizens, they sacrifice their time to participate, and if they never hear from it again, they just lose confidence at all. And not only for citizens, it's important that they trust the process, but also for politicians. They give up some of their decision power, but they remain politically responsible for the decision. It is very important to listen to them and to take their remarks into account. And as a government, we have limited people and resources, so it's always hard because participation takes a lot of effort to do good participation. And we also have our own participation platform, as I said. But there, we need to monitor it and to make it very accessible, and to monitor all of the IDs and the subjects that have come in. It's quite a lot of work. So that's also why we are a partner of Innovate. We hope to find in the digital democracy app a solution to some of these challenges. So
thank you very much, Bert, and that was really interesting. And the importance of engagement and building trust and confidence of citizens, so that they feel empowered to and drive the policy decisions. I think it's a very, very strong message. But like you said, this takes a lot of resources and time as well for a city, for any city. But you can really get people disengaged, people engaged again. So Bertrand, thank you very much. That was really nice. Nice to hear a real case. So we'll move now to Andreas. Andreas, if I can ask you to turn on your camera and share your slides, because you're going to give us a societal perspective now. We've talked about the citizens that are impacted by technology, and obviously getting them engaged in democracy again. So what are the societal impacts of this? So over to you, Andreas. Thank you.
So thank you. Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to join this webinar on behalf of the Pericles project, representing the societal and application perspective. Oops, no, it doesn't switch. No. So for digital democracy to deliver on its promise of restoring public trust and strengthening democracy, it must contribute to a sense of belonging and ownership across society. And to be effective, a digital democracy platform must be integrated into the democratic process. Both the platform and its embedding in governance, or in the case of citizen participation, how the outcome is fed into the representative process, must fit for the intended purpose. Participation should hold a realistic promise of empowerment, but it's imperative to be open about limitations from the outset. And of course, you must deliver on your promise. And as Berton just rightfully said in his presentation, you don't want to disappoint the citizens. Participation should be impactful and resistant to attack. In the following, I will discuss design aspects based on experiences with liquid feedback, a framework for integrated deliberation and decision-making implemented as open source code under the same name. Liquid feedback is all about fair and credible opinion forming for just about any kind of large group we may find ourselves in as citizens, members of our local communities, or civil society organizations. Applications range from bottom-up governance of organizations and caucus negotiations to co-creation and civic participation. Liquid feedback foresees discussing an issue before voting on it. This deliberation allows participants to weigh the pros and cons of a proposition, including unintended consequences. It even allows considering alternative approaches. In a nutshell, deliberation allows participants to make informed decisions. Conversely, decision-making gives purpose to deliberation. The liquid feedback process is self-organizing and initiative-driven. During the deliberation phase, the viable voting options are identified. And this is essential because the ability to create the voting options is equally as important as the ability to vote. Once the voting options have been established, we apply clone-proof preferential voting, where you can not only approve or disapprove, but also rank the options, such as choosing your favorite and second choice. Predefined rules of procedure are used for different types of decisions, such as programmatic, organizational, bylaws changes for which you may want to consider different timeframes, quora, and majority requirements. You also need a proper accreditation process to ensure that only eligible participants have access with exactly one account. You want a credible process with reproducible results, a precondition for building trust. Liquid feedback is engineered to encourage constructive behavior, including curbing hate speech and trolling and discouraging low-effort comments. Responses are quantified rather than repeating the same argument over and over. Throughout this process, we avoid any encouragement of tactical behavior. And all this works without a moderator, a person with special rights to influence the debate, because that could create a democratic deficit and undermine credibility. We give every minority position a fair share. We are not talking about minorities as groups, but of minority positions on a given issue, something we can actually measure intersubjectively. We use the harmonic weighting algorithm to sort competing initiatives in discussion, which allows us to give each minority its fair share of attention. This works even for overlapping minorities. And the very same mechanism protects against the dominance of vocal groups by avoiding their overrepresentation. Now, how do we address the trade-off between the ability to express a nuanced opinion and the burden on participation? Both point to different dimensions of inclusiveness. Our approach is to leave it up to the individual participant to make that call. One aspect is upward flexibility. Each participant can always choose the intensity of their participation, from a click to endorse something to developing and championing their own proposition. And the second is liquid democracy, which allows division of labor based on the individual choice of the participants. Basically, you participate in what you're interested in, and for other issues, you can choose to be represented by someone acting on your behalf. Liquid democracy provides a general mechanism for the division of labor through the delegation of influence. This influence is often interpreted as voting. However, it can actually be applied to any quantifiable activity. Consequently, liquid feedback uses transitive proxies for participant empowerment during structured deliberation, collective moderation, identification of viable voting options, and final preferential voting. Multiple topic-specific representation patterns stemming from a delegation hierarchy emerge. The representation patterns delineate the weight of a potential participant activity. And if you will allow me an analogy, this is like the brain of an organization and how it is wired to initially respond to a new issue in a given policy area, an evolving and learning representation pattern. There are many trade-offs, and how to address them often depends on the context. And there are many counterintuitive cause and effect relationships. Interventions with commendable intentions can yield unintended consequences. And then there is this notion of more is different. What is that about? Liquid feedback has been used in scenarios with approximately 10,000 active deliberators on an equal footing, and is designed for a potentially unlimited number of participants. Here, however, sociologists caution us that scaling up by 1 or 2 orders of magnitude, this means going to 100,000 or 1 million participants, may generate new effects. Because, for instance, social influences might have a different impact. When starting to conceive liquid feedback, we consulted the pre-existing scientific literature, and over the years, we have continued scientific cooperation with universities worldwide. We have mathematical proofs for some properties and deductive reasoning for others, and there's anecdotal evidence for more complex interdependencies. And we are excited that Pericles will take all this to a new level with a systematic and multidisciplinary approach, integrating methods and concepts from democratic theory, the social sciences, and the computing sciences. Allow me to close on an optimistic note. Negotiations between conflicting interests can be conducted with mutual respect. For a fruitful debate, we don't need consensus on political grounds, but we do need common ground on the rules of procedure, a commitment to truth and facts, and a democratic sentiment. Digital democracy has the potential to challenge views, facilitate informed decision-making, and help develop a vision for the common good. Thank you for your attention. It's much appreciated.
Thanks very much, Andreas. So that was really interesting to hear how new software can be used to really facilitate democratic processes and the importance of deliberation as well in decision making, and really trying to drive this concept in a time where decisions are often taken very quickly and without much deliberation. So, and also that concept at the end, you know, agreeing to disagree nicely is also an important part of democracy, and something that doesn't have to be so polarized or polarizing, I should say. So thank you very much, Andreas, for that interesting insight. So now we'll move on to the introducing the 3 projects. Okay, so each project, as I said before, has been funded under the same call, and which focuses on e-democracy. And we'll hear from the coordinators of each of these 3 projects, who, as we said at the beginning, are working together with their results and findings, and each cover a different perspective and different ways to use technology and emerging technologies like AI for the greater good, shall we say. So let's move first to the Innovate project. And I'd like to welcome Fatih Yilmaz, who's from Beyond the Horizon ISSG. So Fatih, over to you. And you need to tell us about the Innovate project, please.
Yes, thank you, Nicholas. So let me share my screen to present my slides. So is it okay now? Can you see it?
Yeah, that's fine. It's perfect.
Okay, thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. So I'll try to give a short introduction to our Innovate project. Yeah. So after listening to three different interesting perspectives, so our project Innovate aims to foster digital democracy, but I'd like to start with a short background on how we see the challenge to be addressed. It's been already partly addressed by different perspectives. So we all experience the accelerated pace of digitalization in all domains, and this also brings profound changes to democratic practices and governance. And governance structures at different levels need to adopt themselves to evolving digital technologies to keep the pace. But we are all aware of the ambivalent characters of the role of the digital technologies. They bring, of course, many opportunities, like the potential to make public participation easier and more effective, or also to increase access to public services and to support online activism. But on the other side, they bring, different challenges concerning data security, privacy, and fundamental rights, or widespread of disinformation and hate speech on the digital sphere. So we can say while digitalization became necessary for fostering democracy, we must also comply with these regulations, human rights, and also on the other side, we need to prevent the potential negative impacts as clearly indicated by the Action Plan on Human Rights and Democracy by the European Commission. Having all these opportunities and challenges in mind, we came up with an ambition in our project to craft innovative methodologies to increase the quality of democracies in Europe by integrating digitalization to governance, and also to foster inclusive civic participation to decision-making, and to have digitally enhanced governance structures. So also keeping balance between security and individual rights, and also to have more transparent and accountable governance structures. So the Innovate project, with its longer name, Innovative Democracy Through Digitalization, is in a nutshell a 3-year EU-funded project, so dedicated to secure, inclusive, and effective digital democracy. It will develop innovative tools for civic participation, ensuring transparency, accessibility, and legal compliance. And we will pilot our tools, our methodology also in 2 municipalities in Geel from Belgium. So Berten presented from Stad Geel, and also San Martin de la Vega from Spain. And we are a multidisciplinary consortium from 4 different European countries: Belgium, Germany, Italy, and Spain. Our users group or target groups will be citizens, civil society organizations, researchers, policymakers, and public administration officials, and also industry, software developers, and companies. Having a closer look at our consortium, we have research partners. So as Beyond Horizon, the coordinator, then 2 universities looking to the project from different angles, from governance and from media, communication, and also DFKI with AI research capacity. We also have ICT partners who will be developing digital tools and also working on communication and dissemination of our activities, and also, which is really important, having the legal expertise to develop all these things in compliance with the legal regulations. We also have a civil society organization and also 2 local authorities. The objectives of Innovate, to build and validate an interdisciplinary knowledge base on digital democracy, and also research trends in e-democracy and e-governance, investigate framework structures and settings required for inclusive governance, and also create a digital democracy app. So this is one of the main objectives we have, and deliver a conceptual framework and platform for education citizens from different backgrounds. Innovate aims to go beyond the state of the art in several respects, starting from creating a new model of digital democracy. So it takes a comprehensive approach, and it builds and goes beyond the best lessons learned from previous digital democracy research tools and frameworks. On the other side, it combines social innovation and technological innovation based on a holistic interdisciplinary systems design. It develops a novel, scalable digital democracy application, which uses human-centered technologies, as already told, complying with data protection, security, GDPR and AI Act. And also it will test the digital democracy application in 2 municipalities. So it shows the level of the application. So it will be then quite high, and could be scalable and used also in different contexts in Europe. And lastly, a new educational methodology with educational materials and platform and learning management system for our citizens, and including also local authorities. Coming to our scientific methodology, Innovate works along several dimensions, as you can see in this figure. We start with the common conceptual framework, so namely models, principles of digital democracy. So at this level, we will try to establish a common conceptual framework, a common understanding of how digital democracy has been theorized and analyzed. So we try to give a picture of the current knowledge baseline. At the second step, we'll try to enhance the knowledge baseline, which means we will try to break new ground and go beyond the state of the art by identifying future scenarios for the development of digital democracy and analyzing it in different contexts. And at the third level, targeted innovation, we will then engage in innovation activities. So namely the development of the digital democracy application, which is informed by previous theoretical and empirical research, previous best practices. So we'll try to build on what has been developed and researched so far. And lastly, so the project engaged with user communities basically in 2 pilot municipalities. Then I'd like to also highlight how we will realize the transition or link between the research and innovation part of the project. So we will organize living labs at different times of the project in different locations. So the living labs will be workshops where multiple stakeholders participate. So it will be multidisciplinary teams of academics, also citizens, civil society organizations, from also officials from different governance structures. So we will try to do co-creation in these living labs, and these will function as an inclusive and participatory platform for cooperation. And the expertise and the results of the living labs will be leveraged at different stages and will be key for us to validate the evidence-based approach to develop project deliverables. Here you can see our 8 main results, so main products of the project. The first one is the interdisciplinary knowledge base. So that will be a key source with 9 thematic reports on different aspects of digital democracy and like e-voting, like open governance, participation, and also the aspects or the new maybe different things which has impact on digital democracy, like dis and misinformation, FIMI. So at the end, we will have actually a handbook or a group of articles to be published for policymakers, practitioners, and researchers. The second will be the Digital Democracy Grading Toolkit. Innovate aims to help governments evaluate how well they are using digital technology to promote democratic participation. And based on the results, highlight areas where the government could improve. So this tool will be helping governments at different level. Third one is the white paper, so which will be a major reference for governments as well to shape decision on transition to digital democracy. Fourth one is the governance framework for transition to digital democracy. So it's also an interdisciplinary report to inform governance structures about legal contexts, organizational structures and cooperation, privacy, security requirements. Fifth one is the toolkit for public procurement. So this will also help governments in making informed decisions on public procurement for transition to digital democracies. Then the sixth one will be Digital Democracy Preference Toolkit. This toolkit will reflect preferred participation culture of the citizens and engagement strategies of governments. Seventh will be the Digital Democracy Application. Also, we aim to surpass the existing examples of the different applications in terms of functions, ease of use and intelligibility. And the last one is the educational promotional materials that will ensure digital inclusion of citizens from various backgrounds, from different parts of the community. And I think this concludes my presentation. So I'd like to also announce our website, and we have our community. So you can follow us and register our community to get more information about our project.
Great, thank you very much, Fatih. Really, really interesting to hear and really interesting to have those key exploitable results so well defined and highlighted at the end. So that's great. Thank you very much. Okay, now if we move on now to the AI for Deliberation project. Now I've got to deliberate how to pronounce your name, Efthymios Tambouris. That's not bad, is it? Apologies for that. So let's hear about the AI for Deliberation project. Again, this is, along the same, with the similar objectives, same call as Innovate, but very much focus on artificial intelligence, which gets good press and bad press. So over to you.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. Thanks a lot. So hi everyone. First of all, many thanks for inviting us in this panel. Very interesting and timely. I'm here with
Sorry, could I just ask you, could you put your slides on full screen, because we see them
Isn't it
not on
full
full
screen?
screen? No,
It's
no.
not. Okay, then let me try again then, because it should have been full screen, but if it's not, then maybe.
There you
How
go.
about now?
Perfect. Yeah, that's
Yeah?
perfect. Thank
Okay.
you. Great.
Great, thanks. So, so my name is Themis Tambouris, Themios Tambouris, or Themis for easier, and I'm a professor at the University of Macedonia and also collaborating with CERT, a research institute that is actually a partner on the AI for Deliberation project. So briefly about the project. Okay, so here is our motivation for putting forward this project, this proposal actually. So we know about decline in citizens' trust in democracy. We know there are a lot of participation platforms for digital participation platforms out there, but they suffer from a number of shortcomings. We understand the trade-off between the aims of participation, which is on large numbers, and the deliberation, which is the emphasis is on quality. So we want to balance those two. At the same time, we understand that there is a shift, particularly in the young generations, in the medium of communication. So moving of online communication, moving more and more from text to audio and video. And of course, we have AI, you know, the elephant in the room. And AI brings a lot of opportunities, a lot of potential, but at the same time, there is a lot of issues, challenges, and simply unknown, and you know, facts like the trust or the impact, and things where we are missing empirical evidence in order to better understand what works, what doesn't work, what is accepted, what is not accepted. So in this actually environment, we thought about putting forward this proposal. So with regards to state of the art, once again, deliberation, focus on increasing quality, participation, focus on increasing numbers. We want those two to combine those two. We want large number, but at the same time, high quality political discussions. And talking about deliberation, of course, there is a long tradition on the deliberative methods, and you know, we have many methods that work to a large extent, but they work offline and they work with small numbers. We have a number of platforms to facilitate that, and also facilitate online deliberation, online participation. Some of them, we have them in our consortium. Some of them we've already heard about. And on the other side, we have another factor, which is the gamification, a bit of controversial factor as well. Some people are very fond of you know, involving gamification in democratic processes. Some are totally against. Also from political scientists, they think that it's you know, we shouldn't do that. Simply, we shouldn't do that. We should keep it serious and you know, outside let's say the gaming arena. So then we have the threads, the societal and technological threads, as already mentioned, the shift to audio, the shift to video, and we have AI, which actually can, for the first time, can be used and can enable massive deliberation, massive online deliberation, featuring a number of interesting capabilities, like the ability to facilitate discussion, to moderate discussion, to fact check in terms of hate speech, etc. Of course, translation, to measure the quality of deliberation, to facilitate consensus building, to cluster and organize arguments of different opinions, and also to enable multimodal communication, which is language agnostic, etc. Of course, as mentioned already, we are lacking evidence on what exactly is working, what exactly is well perceived, and what is not. And this is where actually we build our proposal. So with this project, what we want is to provide more or less like a holistic approach, if we can say that, meaning that we want to build IT infrastructure and an AI toolkit that is open and reconfigurable and modular and can be included in many different platforms, existing platforms. So we're not going to build our own platform, but we're going to build components, AI components that can be hopefully be easy to integrate in many different existing platforms, because there are already a lot of platforms out there. But at the same time, we're going to see how this technical platform fits into existing deliberative processes and how we can enhance those deliberative processes to be AI enabled. So we need to restructure the current deliberative processes in order to make them scale at large numbers. And at the same time, we need to focus and pay attention to the institutionalization aspects. So we need to provide authorities that want to embrace AI deliberations with roadmaps, frameworks, with guidelines, and so like, in order to be able to design, institutionalize, operate, and evaluate such mass citizen deliberations. And of course, in the long run, we hope that this will allow us to make the citizens more active, more inclusive, and citizens to increase their trust, or at least for us to, from a scientific point of view, to be able to understand better the role of AI in deliberations. I mean, that's the hopeful scenario, that it will allow all these benefits to be realized. But as I said, we are lacking empirical evidence. So even if some of those fail, at least we will still know that what works and what doesn't really work. So you can see here a mock-up of such a system. It's not really what we aim for. It's just an idea, one of many different possibilities. We're not necessarily end up with that. This is a very starting point in order to convey the message of putting all this together. Again, like a disclaimer, that's not an actual system. It's not going to be like that necessarily. It's just something that one of our partners put forward in order to give an idea of how you can combine things that are coming from gamification, like having levels or insights, good insights, or skill points. How you can have different multimodal communication with text, video, audio. How you can have like avatars if you want for your videos, and then how you can have like a discussion where AI is really a moderator. So it is moderated by AI, and AI is able to organize comments and organize arguments and try to through a specific process build consensus for the participants. And then you can have like here the consensus building process, and then you can have points being obtained from, for example, citizens being informed before they go on and participate on something and deliberate. Obviously, you need, and many deliberative processes, they start with an informed aspect where the participants are getting informed about the discussion topic, because they don't necessarily know about it. So here is an idea that you are getting informed, and at the same time you're getting points so that you increase your level. Again, not necessarily all of this will be implemented, but these are thoughts for us to start our research. So in a nutshell, we have AI for deliberation at the center, and we want to take into account issues on democracy, particularly the already pre-existing a huge knowledge on deliberative processes and on participation techniques, processes, and tools. Also organizational aspects like guidelines, roadmaps, frameworks to assist organizations that want to adopt this new deliberation style. We have, of course, the societal aspect, and we want, of course, we have an aim to increase participation, to increase convenience, trust, etc. And this will be facilitated by artificial intelligence, following the EU principles, the EU ideas, and based on platforms, architectures, etc., that are legal, ethical, trustworthy, etc. So to guarantee that, we also have set a scientific and ethics advisory board in the project that involves experts from AI ethics to GDPR and to deliberation, like colleagues from Stanford University at the USA. So the overall approach is like that. I'm not gonna give you much of the details. Just the whole idea that we're here now. We're concluding the literature review and stakeholders' needs, etc., mappings and that. We're gonna have a technology foresight exercise. We're running that actually now, and then we're gonna start 4 mega sprints, 6 months each, of building, testing, evaluating, and revising and building again. So initially, we're gonna, in the first sprint, it's the consortium that will test different approaches, different technical aspects, different organizational issues. At the second sprint, we're gonna test that with a small number of citizens, and then in the third only sprint, we're gonna go with large number of citizens to test our ideas that have been already tested internally by few small numbers, and then at the fourth sprint we will be able to really put forward our final aspects and then our policy recommendations. Then for that purpose, we're going to have four pilots. So we will deploy our ideas, our framework, our processes, our tools in 4 different areas. Here are some details you can find more information about in our website. I'm gonna go a little bit fast now because I don't wanna spend that much time. So summary, more or less, we hope that we're going to integrate multimodal AI and gamification in current deliberation processes. So have a contribution at the policy science level with including AI in traditional deliberation processes. We hope that we will have like a holistic framework for organizations wishing to adopt that by providing guidelines, roadmaps, etc. We hope we'll be able to build open source AI components that will be easily integrated in different existing open source platforms for deliberation and participation. Yeah, with all that, hopefully we will make a small contribution towards more participation, active participation from European citizens to the public affairs. Finally, the consortium, we have again a variety, like other projects, a variety of different expertise. We have 13 partners covering 8 different member states, and not member states, 8 different countries. We have Unisystems, which is a large integrator as a coordinator. I'm coming from CERT, and we have the scientific coordination of that, but we also have like political scientists, people who are interested in democracy and AI, and of course technical partners that are interested in the technical issue, but also on the organizational issue. We also have at this point an EU survey questionnaire. So if you want to contribute, the link will be distributed later. Understand if you want to contribute on what AI aspects are important on deliberations, what we should and what we should not do, please take some time and fill in that questionnaire. Here is our website, and with that, I would like to thank you for your attention. If there are questions, happy to answer them before I stop here, so I don't want to go
Thank you.
more with the
Oh,
time.
Okay, thank you very much. That was really interesting, and particularly how you're going to integrate the platform into other institutions while respecting their reputations as well. That would be an interesting area, and something that Pierre mentioned as well, the reputations of European institutions. So finally, last but not least, I'd like to turn to Davide Grossi and the Pericles project.
Hi, everyone. So let me
hi,
share
Davide.
my
Thank
screen.
you. Great stuff.
So
Okay,
you can see it, right?
Yeah, it's perfect. Thank you.
All right. So, well, first of all, I'd like to thank my colleagues at Innovate for setting up this interesting event and for inviting us. I'm really happy to be here to be able to briefly present the Pericles project. So I'm Davide Grossi. I'm a professor at the Bernoulli Institute for Mathematics, Computer Science and AI of the University of Groningen, and I'm also affiliated for the Center of Democracy and Governance of the same university. Pericles, so Participatory Democracy that Scales, is an effort of several academic partners. So we have 6 universities on board. These are all research centers that are internationally very active on the respective disciplines, from computer science and AI to political science, democratic theory, and social psychology. We also have next to it, of course, you already heard from Andreas. So we have a societal partner from the software development side, so that's Liquid Feedback. The Kiesmannen is a partner from civil society. They are active in political engagement here in the Netherlands, and we also have the IT office of the University of the City of Athens. And both the Kiesmannen and DAEM will be actually responsible for our pilots, of which I will speak briefly later. So I will not give you too many nitty-gritty details about the project, but rather my aim here is to give you a bit of its vision and where we're coming from and where we would like to go with the project. Let me move on with the focus. So what we are really trying to contribute to is to scaling up democratic participation. Efthymios already actually prepared the ground a little bit for this, because when we talk about participation, I like to think of it and the challenges around democratic participation. I like to think of it along 2 dimensions. Okay, so on the one hand, you have, say, the quality of the participation, the sort of information you can get from citizens. And on the other side, orthogonal to it, you have the scale, so the size of the participating group. And these 2 things not necessarily go together. So, in standard representative or even direct democracy, we think of, we can reach large number of citizens through elections and referenda. But these are, so the sort of participation we get from that, the sort of information we gain from citizens is of a limited size. In the extreme case, would be like a yes or no in a referendum. It's this, on the other hand, when we think of democratic innovations from the point of view, for instance, of citizen panels, citizen assemblies, or even small committees, well, that's where we think of deliberative democracy. We see an environment that is informationally speaking much richer, and that's where conflicting interests could be discussed and overcome in a sort of more constructive way. That's, as I said, the place for democratic deliberation. Social media also live in this spectrum in some sense. We're all very accustomed to liking or disliking content on social media. Again, it's a large-scale form of participation to which actually we, as citizens of this digital society, are getting increasingly accustomed to. But the sort of quality of information we get from there is very limited, to say the least. Now, this is what I often refer to as a participation dilemma. And what we would like to overcome is to actually get technology so digital democracy technology, that would allow us to live here on this space, to reach out to large numbers of citizens, and at the same time do that in a constructive and informationally rich manner. So that's where the challenge for us from Pericles really lives. And to get there, we need technology. We need algorithm. We need to develop software that can allow us to realize this vision. So where the project really started was really from this ambition to sort of prepare the ground in an evidence-based manner to provide the science for a form of algorithmically mediated democratic process. So for to prepare the science for digital democracy that could allow us, our societies, to create software that is fit for these democratic purposes. Because we really believe there is no way to reach out in a meaningful way to citizens at large scale without having algorithmic support. And a lot of the ideas we sort of implemented in the project actually came from an earlier white paper that we wrote with several other colleagues, more than almost 30. That was coming from a workshop that we co-organized also with Andreas here in the panel at the Lawrence Center in the Netherlands, where we brought together computer scientists, political scientists, psychologists, sociologists to really think together about the scientific foundations that are needed to get to better digital democracy. The QR code gives you access to the paper, and we're very interested, of course, on any feedback on this sort of manifesto that we set out, and that is also a little bit the foundation of the Pericles project. So what is our ambition? As I said, we really aim at moving robust steps towards science for digital democracy, something that can give us an evidence base to develop software to identify best practice for the deployment of such software and also inform policy making. So when we think of software and democracy, of course, we should think about the relationship between democracy and algorithms. And if we put these two words next to each other now, probably they would elicit dubious responses. Right? We are all aware about the way that algorithms have on forming public opinions, for instance, social media nowadays, and this and all the links they have with filter bubbles, polarization, and you name it. But we also have to be aware that actually democracy and the link between democracy and algorithm is an old one, because democracy ultimately is about designing good procedures. And well, if you ask computer scientists what a procedure is, well, they will tell you they are algorithms. And this nexus between democracy and algorithms is as old as democracy itself. When we think of the Athenian democracy, and this is one of my favorite examples, well, they were running their city-based democracy, which you know was based on sortition and lotteries for citizens, using specific algorithms. This is the Clerotherium, which was a sort of mechanical device that implemented an algorithm for fair sortition for the selection of citizens in the Athenian assemblies. So we want to, in a sense, rejuvenate this link between democracy and good algorithms in our project. To do that, of course, we have to realize that if we think of a digital democracy setting, changing algorithms means changing processes. So using different algorithms in a digital democracy platform will generate different democratic processes. And we need to be able to justify the choice of the algorithms we make. This include any sort of algorithms, not only sort of AI stuff, but also sort of more run-of-the-mill types of algorithms. So how do you justify? So we need to be able to tell users of our technology that these algorithms do foster specific democratic goals, like fairness or inclusivity or equal access to the democratic process. To do that, there is no single scientific discipline that can contribute to this goal. And that's why we really believe in an interdisciplinary approach where we bring in computational sciences, social sciences, psychological sciences, and political sciences together. And our ambition from a scientific point of view is really to develop methods that integrate all these different fields that all of them in their own way have historically contributed to the study of democracy. Now we want to really bring them together so that we can provide a robust foundation to digital democracy. Now, what is the impact we're after? First of all, we want to be able, with our evidence base, to support the development of better software. And we're, of course, thrilled that Liquid Feedback is on board with us because, of course, because they already have a proven platform that has been used with thousands of users. Now we want to probe that software, possibly suggest improvement, and that will be sort of the stepping stone really for the project, also from a software development point of view. We want also to develop and support societal partners, local decision makers, like we heard from Bertrand earlier on how to deploy such digital democracy solution in an effective manner. And of course, we also want to inform decision makers and policymakers on how to best leverage the potential of digital democracy. So we have planned pilots in Amsterdam and Athens, and we want to, with our methods, really inform a decision maker at local, national, and also European level on how to best drive policymaking around digital democracy. And we want to develop guidelines, best practice, a library really of best practice for local governments, civil society actors, so that they can really leverage the technology for the best. In this way, we really, with this, I would also recommend you to have a look at this report that came out in 2023 about the state of digital democracy in Europe, where it was emphasized how we still lack a sort of evidence base to really think organically about this digital democracy space. So Pericles really wants to bring together the science and the methodologies to do science about digital democracy, the societal concerns, and crucially, the software development side of the technology. With this, I conclude, and here I put the QR code again of our white paper. Thank you.
Thank you, David. That's fascinating, especially the example you gave of early democracy. So that was really interesting. So I've just written in the chat that we're going to extend the webinar a few minutes. I hope you can stay on. If you can't, then we'll be publishing the recording of this in the next few days, and all of the presentations that have been given will be published on the Innovate website straight afterwards, really, this afternoon. So I'm going to turn to the questions actually that we've got in the Q&A, okay? And I'm going to go for the first question. So we'll do this for a few minutes, a bit shorter than we would have normally, but so there's a question from Gabriele Quattrocchi, okay, which is to Pierre. Pierre, are you still with us? There you are, yes. So the question is around the policy, okay? So the other legislations that you mentioned, including the AI Act. And the question is if there are any gaps or limitations within these different legislations or frameworks which need to be addressed. Yeah.
Yes, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the question. I'm afraid I won't be able to answer specifically on the AI Act and possible gaps identified there. This is not my field of expertise. It's quite a recent legislation, and the AI office has been working on implementing it, but I don't know where they stand in terms of already assessing and reviewing it. What I can say is that on a horizontal manner, the way we are approaching the preparation of the shield is also to approach it from a needs and gaps assessment. So We are conducting in close cooperation with relevant DGs an assessment of the current framework, the current situation, and if in the course of this assessment we identify gaps or possible loopholes in different areas that would require further actions at EU level, non-legislative or legislative. At this stage, we don't know. This is we're at the beginning, let's say, of the process still. We will take actions where needed. So on the AI Act, I don't know. On the Shield, we follow a needs assessment, gaps assessment, and where appropriate, we might consider relevant measures. That's all I can say. I'm sorry.
That's fine, Pierre. No, I understand these things are being developed as we speak, so it's difficult to comment on them. I wondered if any of the other speakers would like to comment on that, if there was anyone who had any opinion on these legislations and any gaps which could be addressed.
Well,
Okay, no.
if I may add about the AI Act in specific, because of course the AI Act puts a new framework in anyone who is working on with AI technology. So I think it's what I can say is that it's something that we definitely need to follow very closely. We now have all these risk-based assessment of applications. We have all these prohibited applications now that are very explicitly prohibited, and we have the so-called high risk that needs an impact assessment. So it's something that is definitely relevant, particularly as it also intervenes with GDPR when we're talking about platforms like our platform, where you have massively people discussing about politics, and political opinions, of course, is a specific category of personal data. And then in our case, we are envisioning maybe video and audio, and then video, of course, if I go with video with my own face or my own voice, then that's of course personal data. So you're handling personal data. So I think these poses a number of challenges. This new the European landscape, let's say, the legislative landscape, particularly GDPR combined with the AI Act, puts a very interesting legal landscape that organizations that want to exploit this platform, they definitely need to follow and of course comply, but also try to keep informed. Because obviously, we have the AI Act, and then a couple of weeks ago, only for the forbidden acts, we had 150 pages explaining, exactly what's going on there. And I assume this trend will continue. I mean, having more and more explanations and how you judge what, how you evaluate, how you certify that you are low risk, etc. So I think all of these will be clarified in due time, and are definitely relevant to anyone interested in this area, particularly those interested in specific, using AI in massive online deliberations. So very interesting, challenging, and important in my view.
Okay, thank you. There's so many different legislations which overlap, so there are so many different areas where there's a lot of dialogue between the different units and people in the Commission who are writing these documents. There's a question directly for Andreas, actually, which is quite interesting, regarding minority positions, so the inclusion of minority positions in deliberation. And so the questioner is Deo, who's interested in mathematical proofs or evidence to support the value of including minority positions in discussions. Okay, so here the risk that the questioner highlights is normalizing or legitimizing radical views. So I wonder, Andreas, if you were able to comment on that, because that's to you.
Yes, sure. So first of all, I think I should make clear where we are coming from, the definition of minority positions. So a minority position is a position held by a number of people who are not able to control a decision, so who are less than 50%. So that's a minority position in a given question. When you have a couple of options, and it's not necessarily, and in most cases, it's not radical. Actually, also historically marginalized groups show in these categories, but they appear usually a little bit larger because they have people who also support their position and who are sympathetic with them. So I would say, no, there's no mathematical proof that it makes sense to include it, but also the notion that minority positions means radical is not right. So, and what we are doing with harmonic weighting in this particular case, in the example I provided, is we give room and attention according to the size of a group, not their activity. So typically you have very active groups, and they're sometimes called noisy minorities, in other cases vocal groups. So they are normalized. They don't appear bigger than they are. Typically you have those groups like 10% and they appear like 20 or 30. So, but I would say diversity matters. You want to know also about the needs of every group in society, including historically marginalized groups. So they will say, okay, if you decide on this, for us, there are those hardships connected with this, and this is what you want to know. And deliberation is a moment when you want to consider those problems. So then you don't want to lose potential allies, or at least fellow citizens with whom you can interact in a responsive manner. And one more thing, you might think that communicating the main argument is a good idea, but failing to provide a nuanced view on a timely manner promotes polarization. So you have this initial drive that you always want to bring the most important argument. And the other side does the same thing. You never come together because there's no nuanced or even complex take on the whole situation. And this is something especially right-wing extremists use. Steve Bannon, for instance, was flooding the field. It exactly goes in that direction. We need this discourse with people who disagree with us, because we have to find out why is that the case. And I really think we shall not fall for a self-deception here. If there are 10 to 15% who believe the most preposterous stuff, we need to know it. We want to know it, and we want to hopefully convince them. And from my personal experience, time and again, I've seen the vast majority of citizens are decent people. So that's what I want to do.
Thanks, Andrea. I'm ending on an optimistic note, which is important.
Sure.
I think you're right. So one final question is from Ganymede Gerbovci about online games. And they mentioned that online games is a way for education and also a way to recruit people as well. And the question is whether or not, in particular young people, whether or not your activities or projects are thinking about using online gaming as a way of educating as well. That's open to anyone.
Yeah, if I can just say just a couple of words here. Well, as I mentioned in my presentation, gamification is one aspect that we are interested to further investigate. what is evident from the literature is that combining games with deliberation, democratic processes is controversial. I would say again. I mean, meaning that for some it's something that is good, for others it's something that is it is to be avoided. In our view and in our initial thinking, we could integrate the gaming exactly in the learning phase. So we are thinking of first of using the gaming elements, the gamification elements in the deliberation process in the stage where citizens need to get informed about the theme and the topic of the deliberation, get accustomed to the different views, different opinions, and in that aspect they can get points or whatever. We are still uncertain whether we will go much further from that and give points because someone made a nice majority. Let's say they have an opinion on majorities, things like that. We're still. I'm not a political scientist myself. We do have in the consortium a couple that I respect scientifically and personally, and we are some discussions ahead of us in order to see where we should really how far we should go with that approach.
Okay, thank you. Ati, did you want to?
Yeah, maybe I can also add something. So we are also at the very early stage of our project, so that's why we don't know how we will go further, but we also have some ideas at the beginning phase, like some different gamified components in the learning. We will also have LMS integrated in our digital democracy application. So it will be more on video-based learning, but we'll think of different gaming options. But we already defined one component like citizen engagement scoring, for example, and introducing a component that quantifies user engagement on the platform. So then the users demonstrating high levels of activity could be identified, and then they can be awarded with badges or given different roles as moderators. So that was the initial idea we have.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So thank you very much, everybody, for your questions, and thank you for answering them. If I can ask Diego to share his screen, and we just have some takeaways basically from what's been a really interesting webinar. So, we started off with the policy point of view and the need to invest in democracies at all levels. So not just top down, but also local bottom up innovations and collaborations. And we heard the case of the city of Geel, who, in all of these different ways in which citizens were getting engaged, and this was building trust and driving democracy and driving policy decisions and building trust in those very institutions which form democracy, and people understanding decision making too, which is of course very important. And then we saw how how platforms can facilitate discussion and deliberation and decision making as well, which is obviously key to enable democracy and enable and facilitate citizens to take part for greater societal impact. And then, of course, we heard from each of the projects which are working in this area to address societal needs through technology to support democracies, providing toolkits and harnessing the power of AI to also be able to use this technology and while at the same time respecting and enhancing the reputation of these democratic institutions. And then finally, the importance of evidence-based policy making, and evidence-based decision making as well, which is really what I think all of the projects are trying to achieve over the next couple of years. So what's next? We can go to the next slide, Diego. So the public consultation. Okay, so Pierre mentioned the public consultation. We hope will be published on the 31st of March. So that's next week. So please do look out for that, and we can send out information to all the participants on that. Sign up for the stakeholder mapping activity, which is on the Innovate website. Okay, and check out the foundational paper from the Pericles project. Apologies for my pronunciation of that project, which I think has changed 3 times during the webinar. And then finally, fill out the questionnaire on the role of AI for deliberation processes, which I think is particularly interesting. So, and then finally, give us your feedback. I think there's another slide after this with a QR code where you can give us your feedback on the webinar. One of the feedbacks is that we went over time, but I think it was worth it to get full perspectives from everyone and have the chance to answer some questions as well. So with that, I'd like to thank all of our speakers and in particular to all of the participants. As we said, we had over 100 participating today, which is really, really excellent and shows the power of working together towards a greater democracy. There you go. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, and have a lovely rest of the day.